tricks in.
Hey, how's it going, folks? Today we're going to be talking about accessibility in Final Fantasy XIV and just how important it can be. I feel like it should be talked about, probably one of the most important things to be talked about, considering Final Fantasy XIV revolves around doing raid mechanics visually, by visually looking at things. There are some things where you use audio cues as well. For example, in T, you can hear the chakram sound, and then you know, okay, because I can hear the chainsaw, chakram, whatever you want to call it, has a sound effect, you know that you have to move out, right? There's just a few basic examples. The one thing about Final Fantasy XIV is I think it can improve on accessibility with color blindness. I feel like the color blindness options right now, they're not like intense. They're not very well looked at, I feel. They're kind of just there, they exist, but they don't actually help, especially when it comes to Trinitopia. This is a particular color blindness that my friend has, which makes things very, very much a pain in the asshole. But yeah, basically, let's discuss this. Now, what you see on your screen right now is the original look of FF14 with no extra additions to it. Right here, the next one is filtered version of the original picture, right? So if you add the filter of it. The next one here is original in the eyes of Trinitopia. This is how the game looks like to them, right? Basically. And then you have the filtered version of Trinitopia right there. So you can see that the colors are very, very different. So you can imagine the struggle of being in Final Fantasy XIV Raids Ultimates where there's a lot of colors going on, and the filter doesn't actually help it that much. As a person who isn't colorblind looking at this, I'm already getting tired of just how bright these colors look. I mean, everything is so pinkish, reddish, and it's just all over the place. If we take into account of raid mechanics where there are many color-based mechanics in FF14, such as even P4S, you have T as well with the Nises. You also have P8S, which, by the way, has colors across the board. You got the alchemy colors, you have to mix those colors, and there's just a lot of color factors in FF14 to resolve mechanics. And so if someone's colorblind, they need to really make that option better for them. This is regarding Trinitopia. This color blindness, as you can see right now on your screen, this is basically the color differentiation between these different color blinds, or color blindness rather. And you can see the Trinitopia one is far off the scale compared to the other ones. It's all over the place, right? So I've been looking around and I have actually seen some cool, interesting solutions that players have done. One of the solutions was one of the static members had color blindness, and what they did was they set someone like a Rogadin to wear full orange glam, dyed all orange, and basically they're like a walking traffic, street traffic cone, they're running around and they're just full on orange, and then the colorblind person would follow that person around for the mechanics. I thought it was an interesting solution, but it worked for them. Now this doesn't mean it's going to work for everyone, and it's not going to work for all the mechanics in the game, because sometimes you have to do mechanics individually, right? And so you will have to rely on yourself in those cases. So it's not a permanent solution, but it's a solution that can help somewhat. But it needs to be looked at across the board. I feel like, especially for Trinitopia. Another thing is you have, Cascade, these giant flashy raid wides. There needs to be a way where you can make it not so bright. All right, this applies to raid wides in particular. Not anything else. We're not saying, reduce, how visible abilities are, just to make them less of a pain in the ass for some people, because they can, find it pretty annoying with how flashy it can be, right? And that's generally, FF14 raid wides are very flashy, right? And so mitigating that or lowering it, or having like a slider to lower just how much exposure, like how bright it is, will definitely help in the long term. This is actually something my Final Fantasy XIV, this is actually something my friend is struggling with right now in our static. They have, you know, headaches through the cascades, through the raid wides, the colors are a pain in the ass, so that adds to it as well. And I feel like accessibility can go a long way with FF if they really look at it. My friend Arrogant actually made a whole post about this, and I talked about it further. I'll put the thread in the description below, but essentially, my friend Arrogant was talking about, you know, color blindness in general, and mitigating stuff like raid wides, AoEs, and stuff like that. Not in particular lowering, like, visually how mechanics are supposed to look like, just the raid wides, something that isn't really resolved. It's just a raid wide, you feint it, you stand, and then you eat it, right? Whereas if you make it so that you can mess around with how much visuals there are and mechanics, that will be a different story entirely, because that would mean then people aren't able to do mechanics because they have the filter set to where they don't see as much. You know what I mean? Kind of like with you and party members, how you see their abilities, right? And how flashy their abilities look like. You know what I mean? But make this exclusive to raid wides. Because my friend's also actually struggling with this, and I feel like having accessibility for this, or having better accessibility for this is going to go a long way, for sure. Okay, so what are the solutions right now? Because there are a few that I personally can think of. One of the solutions right now, you know, third-party tools. You know, people use third-party tools because, you know, there isn't the best colorblind accessibility options in FF. In fact, I'm gonna mention something here with the colorblind system within the game right now. The thing about it is preset options give us a color wheel where we can individually change each color to one that better suits the individual. As swapping one color you cannot distinguish to another, you know, it's not very helpful. You know, there needs to be a better way of approaching this, and I actually took a look at this in game, and this is just how it's set. I feel like it can be improved within the game. The colorblind system within the game can be enhanced, improved, to fit all types of colorblindness, and just make it easier to fiddle around with, for sure. I think would be a welcome solution. It will be a welcome thing to have within the game. The next thing is audio triggers. You know, these are the third-party tools, you know, the sussy stuff, okay? Audio triggers, where it calls out the color of something. For example, if a mechanic happens, it'd be like orange, blue, green, you know? That is an option. And of course, there's the well-known G-shade, which you can also mess around filters with the colors and stuff like that. So that's also another option right now. And really, my final solution is for the devs to stop making color-based mechanics. That's like a last resort, right? You know, like Titan Savage, for example, you know, you have the blue, orange, yellow. You have Hephaestus in P4S, same thing with the colors. You have the dark orb and the light blue orb. You have the elements, you know, it's green, electric, whatever. There's a lot of colors, okay? So you either improve the colorblind system for colorblind, you improve the colors for colorblind people, or you make less color-based mechanics that will help people just do the mechanics without having to pay attention to colors in particular. It's an option, right? It's one solution that they can look at, but it's not the primary one. It's like a last resort, right? I think there are other options they can definitely look at, such as, in my opinion, improving the current settings of color blindness will go a long way, for sure. And of course, I will be posting the Aragon forum post in our description, so you guys can check it out and join in the discussion if you wish. I actually also added my own comments in there, so feel free to join in the conversation, spread the word if you wish. Overall, I think this is something that can definitely be looked at, and I feel like it's very important in a game where seeing mechanics is very important to actually resolve them, and having struggles seeing things, or just because some things are too bright, for example, like the raid wides are too flashy and give people headaches, this is something that can also be looked at, and I feel overall this would be a solid change, solid addition to the game. overall. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope this video gets some exposure regarding accessibility in FF. You know, I love the game personally. I don't despise. You know, I personally love the game, and this is just one thing that can affect, you know, some players that are colorblind, or some players that can get fatigue from you know, massive raid wides and stuff like that. Essentially, the company should be the ones, or the people, the devs rather, they should be in charge of finding the solution for this. You know, us as players, we can't really identify what the core solution is to fixing color blindness, other than there's obviously the third-party stuff that can help you with colors and other things like that. But the devs are in control, so they would know the best solutions. So that's my opinion on that. So yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in PF. Peace out. Love you guys.